One question I get asked all the time is, how do I know if it's my intuition or my ego that's pushing me to do something? And I would say that intuition isn't demanding. Often intuition, actually, for me, I recognize it more in hindsight. It's those things or those actions that I took that I really didn't think a lot. There wasn't a lot of story behind it. There wasn't a lot of planning. It's just kind of how things happened, where the energy brought me to, following that energy that brings you to things that feel full and full of life. Where the ego, for me, is the piece that's pretty demanding. That's like, no, you have to do this. It has to be this way. You have to do it right now. Like those strong forces of, no, you have to do this right now. This is totally wrong, or this is totally right, or whatever it is. I've kind of learned through process of trial and error that when something is that strong and not patient, it's probably my ego coming through. Now, there's not to say, what about when you're walking down the street and it tells you don't go down that dark alley because there's, and then you find out someone got robbed in that alley or whatever. I mean, sure, that's that. I would say that's probably a bit more of an energetic sense, maybe an intuitive energetic sense rather than that kind of intuitive drive about decisions that you should make or things that you should do with your life, if that makes sense. A little bit of a difference there. So when you work with your intuition, people always say, well, I want to hear my intuition more. I want to learn how to listen to my intuition. And I feel like it's natural. It's happening all the time. It's just that sometimes your intuition is telling you something that you don't want to hear. And so it's like, I really want to listen to my intuition. And it's like your intuition is telling you, don't take that job, don't take that job, don't take that job. But your mind is like, oh, but the money's so good, and oh, you'll get to do this, and oh, that'll lead to this, and you'll get to work with these people. But the gut is like, oh, I really don't want that job. But there's all this other stuff. And it's like, oh, I just don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. And it's like, no, actually you do know what to do, but you don't want to hear it. And so to work with that, it's about, you can do it in one sitting where you sit and you're quiet yourself. And in that kind of a situation about maybe taking a job or not, you can sit for a while and you can imagine yourself taking the job and what that would feel like and what your days would look like, and feel in your body, what it would feel like to be in that job. And then kind of clear the slate and then look at, what it would be like to say, no, I'm not going to take that job. What it would feel like to still be looking for a job, or maybe a different job comes up, and kind of weigh the difference between how that feels between two decisions in your body, not so much in your mind, but in your body. Does one feel lighter? Does one feel heavier? Does one feel more energetic? Does one feel duller? So you can do that. But I would recommend that if you have a practice, a regular practice where you sit and you quiet your mind and you find some stillness, it's going to be easier for you to follow your intuition, because there's already going to be space where that intuition has to emerge from you. And so it's already at work. You don't have to constantly clear the slate in order for allow it some space to come up. And so if you have a regular practice, your intuition is probably more part of your daily life already. Like when I look at my life and some of the choices I've made about moving in particular, I never had any big dreams about moving outside of my home country, and specifically not to Bali or to India, but it just happened. It just kind of happened, literally. I didn't even know where Bali was. I'm sure many of you have heard me tell that story. I didn't even know where it was when I bought my ticket to go there. But there was something that just was, the energy was pushing me or driving me in that way, and I just followed it. The same with India. When I left Bali, I didn't know I would move to India. I was just going to travel and see where I ended up. And about 10 months in, it became clear that, I'm ready to settle someplace for a little while, and The only place I could imagine was in India, and lo and behold, here I am. It was never a big dream of mine. When I look back, I see that it was intuition that led me to all of these places. It led me to the people that are in my life who perhaps dropped little hints about Bali or India or whatever. And it led me to different ideas about how my life could be. And when you give space to that, when you actually allow that to emerge, that's your intuition. And it will drive you in the right place. Your mind might argue with it. But when you have some examples of where it actually led you to the best place, it's a little bit easier to quiet the mind down a little bit and really go into, okay, but what's actually in my gut or actually in my heart? With all honesty, with all clarity, without all of this but. Like, what does it feel like for me to do something? So that's the biggest thing I would say about intuition and ego. Ego is demanding. Intuition is patient and steady. And if you don't do it right away, there will be more opportunities for you to do whatever it was that you're meant to do. I really don't think there's wrong choices. There's choices that divert you, but in the end, you're going to get what you need. You're going to get to where you need to go. I hope that's helpful.